Taman sat at the bar. It felt strange sitting here after seeing what Hyejin could do. The bar looked normal now. All the broken furniture had been replaced. The scorch marks cleaned. The claw gouges filled and painted over. If he hadn't seen the destruction with his own eyes, he would never know anything had happened. "What can I get you?" Hyejin asked. She had a towel over her shoulder and that same pleasant smile. "Water," Taman said. "I'm still on duty." She poured him a glass of cold water and set it down gently. "You have questions." "Many questions. I'll answer what I can." She leaned against the back counter, relaxed. "I'm not trying to hide anything. I just want to live quietly and run my bar." "Then help me understand," Taman said. "We found your service record. 47 combat deployments, special operations, strategic pacification. You're not just a former soldier. You're an elite soldier." "Was," Hyejin corrected. Past tense. "I left that life behind." "Did you?" "Because what you did yesterday looked very much like that life coming back." Hyejin was quiet for a moment. She picked up a glass and started polishing it even though it was already clean. A nervous habit, Taman realized, maybe the only sign of stress she showed. "When you spend 14 years training to fight," Hyejin said slowly, "it becomes part of who you are. The training doesn't go away just because you want it to. I can't unlearn what I know. I can only choose when to use it. You chose to use it yesterday." "They didn't give me much choice," Hyejin pointed out. "I asked them to leave. 3 times. I explained that their behavior was inappropriate. They escalated. I defended myself. That's all that happened." "You put 6 trained fighters in the hospital in 90 seconds. "Yes, I did." She set down the glass and met his eyes. "Would you have preferred I let them hurt me? Let them destroy my bar? Let them possibly hurt my customers? I would have preferred you called security and let us handle it." "I did call security, you came." By then it was over. Hyejin's voice was still calm, but Taman detected a hint of steel underneath. "Chief Taman, I need you to understand something. On Earth, we have a saying, when seconds count, help is minutes away. I couldn't wait for you to arrive. I had to handle the situation immediately." "But you're so calm about it," Taman said. "You broke 6 people and you're acting like it was nothing." "It wasn't nothing," Hyejin replied. "But being upset about it won't change what happened. Being angry won't help. I did what was necessary, and now I'm moving forward. That's how I stay sane." Taman took a drink of water. It was good water, cold and clean. Like everything else in this bar, it was perfect. "Tell me about your training. What do you want to know?" "Everything? How does a human become capable of what you did?" Hyejin considered this. "Humans are good at fighting because we've had to be. Our planet is what the galaxy calls a death world. Everything on Earth evolved to survive in extreme conditions. Predators, prey, even the plants. We developed intelligence and tool use because we were weak, slow, fragile. We had to outsmart everything trying to kill us." She poured herself a glass of water and continued. "But intelligence wasn't enough. We also had to learn to fight. Hand-to-hand combat has been part of human culture for thousands of years. We have hundreds of different martial arts systems, each one developed to solve different problems. When we joined the galactic community and started meeting other species, we studied them too, learned their strengths and weaknesses, updated our fighting systems." "You studied Trilarians," Taman said. "Thex told me you hit him exactly at his weak points." "I fought Trilarians before," Hyejin admitted. "During my service. You learn quickly where different species are vulnerable. Trilarians have strong exoskeletons, but there are stress points where the crystal structure is weaker. Hit those points correctly and the whole structure fractures. It's efficient." "Efficient," Taman repeated. "You talk about breaking someone's arms like it's a technical problem." "Because it is," Hyejin said simply. "When you're in combat, you can't afford emotion. You have to think clearly, assess the threat, respond appropriately. Emotion makes you slow, makes you stupid. I can't afford either." Taman's antenna twitched. "How many people have you fought?" "I don't keep count. But in 14 years of service, hundreds, maybe thousands. Most of them survived. That was usually the goal." "Usually?" Hyejin's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Something darker. Sometimes the mission parameters required permanent solutions. I did what was necessary. I followed my orders. I never killed anyone who didn't give me no other choice." The bar was quiet. The few other customers were at tables far away, talking among themselves. Taman realized he was alone with someone who could kill him before he could blink. The thought should have terrified him. Instead, he felt strangely calm, because Hyejin wasn't threatening him. She was just answering his questions honestly. "Why did you leave?" Taman asked. "If you were good at it, why stop?" "Because I was too good at it," Hyejin said. "Command kept giving me harder missions, more dangerous assignments. They said I was one of their best operators. They wanted me to train others, become an instructor, spend the rest of my life teaching people how to hurt people." She paused, looking down at her hands. Small hands, Taman thought. Delicate looking, capable of terrible things. "I realized I didn't want that," Hyejin continued. "I'd spent 14 years fighting. I'd seen friends die, killed people who were just following their own orders. I was tired of violence, tired of always being ready to hurt someone. I wanted to create something instead of destroying. So I left, and opened a bar. She agreed. "Bartending is the opposite of fighting. You listen to people, serve them, make them happy, create a safe space where they can relax. I liked that idea. Still do. Yet you still had to fight." "Yes, because some people don't understand peace. They only understand strength. The Gorath brothers thought humans were weak, thought they could bully me because I'm small. They were wrong. I showed them they were wrong. Now maybe they'll be more respectful." Taman set down his water glass. "The Gorath clan is filing charges against you. Excessive force assault, they want you removed from the station." He watched her reaction carefully. She didn't flinch, didn't look worried, just nodded slightly. "I expected that," Hyejin said. "Powerful people don't like being embarrassed. The brothers challenged me and lost. That makes the clan look weak, so they'll try to use politics instead. They have influence," Taman warned. "Good lawyers, political connections. They might win. They might," Hyejin agreed. "But I followed the law. I defended myself legally. I warned them. I used appropriate force to stop the threat. Nothing more, nothing less. If the law is fair, I'll be fine, and if it's not fair?" Hyejin smiled, but it wasn't her usual pleasant smile. This one had teeth. "Then I'll leave. Find another station. Another bar. I'm good at starting over. But I won't apologize for defending myself. I won't pretend to be weak just to make others comfortable." Taman's communicator buzzed. He checked it. A message from Rixtal. The hearing had been scheduled. 3 days from now, Station Arbiter Soyon would preside. The Gorath clan was sending their best legal team. "Hearing is in 3 days," Taman told her. "You'll need to testify. Explain what happened." "Answer questions. I'll be there," Hyejin said. "Is there anything else you need from me?" "Yes, one more question." Taman leaned forward. "Are you dangerous?" Hyejin didn't answer immediately. She picked up another glass and started polishing. Taman waited. He'd learned that sometimes the best way to get answers was to let silence do the work. Finally, Hyejin spoke. "Everyone is dangerous under the right circumstances. What you're really asking is whether I'm a threat to the station. Whether I'll hurt innocent people? The answer is no. I don't want to hurt anyone. I came here for peace. But if someone threatens me or the people under my protection, I will respond. That's not being dangerous. That's being responsible." "The people under your protection," Taman repeated. "You mean your customers?" "I mean anyone in my bar," Hyejin said firmly. "When you're in this establishment, you're under my care. I take that seriously. If someone starts trouble, I'll end it. Quickly and cleanly. That's my job. Keep everyone safe. That includes the troublemakers, which is why they're all still alive." Taman stood up. "The hearing will determine if you broke the law. I'm just trying to understand who you are." "I'm a bartender who wants to be left alone," Hyejin said. "But I'm also a former soldier who knows how to protect what's mine. Those two things don't have to conflict. Most days they don't. Yesterday was an exception, not the rule." As Taman walked toward the door, Hyejin called out to him. "Chief?" He turned back. "Thank you for being fair," she said, "for investigating properly. Not everyone would have done that. Some people would have just arrested me because I'm human and humans scare them." "Do we scare you?" Taman asked. "Other species?" Hyejin tilted her head, considering. "No, I understand other species. Studied them. Fought beside them and against them. Most species are brave and honorable. But most species also underestimate humans because we look weak. That's a dangerous mistake. I hope the Gorath clan learns that lesson." Taman left the bar and walked back to the security office. His mind was working through everything Hijin had told him. She wasn't lying. He was sure of that. Because the galaxy wasn't ready to accept that humans could. The station medical center was quiet except for the groaning. Taman walked through the recovery ward, passing beds filled with the 6 aliens from the bar fight. It had been 12 hours since the incident. The medics had worked through the night-setting bones, treating contusions, and managing the psychological shock. That last part was proving more difficult than the physical injuries. They keep asking if she's coming back, the head medic told Taman. They're terrified she'll find them here. Taman's antenna twitched. Has she threatened them? No, she hasn't contacted them at all. But they saw what she can do. Now they can't stop thinking about it. Krev was awake, sitting up in his bed with his ribs wrapped in regenerative bandages. When he saw Taman, he actually looked relieved. Chief, Krev said, please tell me you arrested her. We didn't arrest her, Taman said, sitting in the chair beside the bed. We're still investigating. Tell me again what happened. Krev's scaled face twisted. I told you already. We were drinking. We made some comments. She got upset. That's not what the witnesses say. The Goroth warrior looked away. Fine. We were being loud, drunk. We said some things about humans. About how they're weak. We were just talking. Just having fun. You grabbed her, Taman said. I barely touched her. Krev's voice rose, then he winced and touched his ribs. I just reached over the bar. Wanted to make a point. Show her that real warriors don't take disrespect. By assaulting her in her own establishment, it wasn't assault. It was just, Krev trailed off. He knew how it sounded. Look, I've fought in 12 battles. I've killed combat mechs with my bare hands. I've gone toe-to-toe with Kralik shock troops and won. That human should not have been able to throw me. But she did. She did, Krev admitted quietly. I outweigh her by 400 pounds. She grabbed my wrist and suddenly I was flying. I hit that wall and couldn't breathe for 5 minutes. I've never been thrown like that. Not in combat. Not in training, never. Taman made notes on his datapad. What about your brother? Vel tried to help me. Charged her while she was behind the bar. He was going to grab her, hold her down so we could leave. She moved. I don't know how to explain it. She was in one place and then she wasn't. Vel hit the bar counter face first. That's when his jaw broke. She hit him? I don't think so. I think he hit himself. She moved and he missed and his own momentum did the damage. Krev shook his head. That's when I knew something was wrong. Vel is faster than me. Better reflexes. He should have caught her. Across the ward, one of the Trilarians was crying again. Thex, the mercenary. His forearms were all in casts. Taman left Krev and walked over to the Trilarian's bed. Can you talk? Taman asked. Thex's crystalline eyes focused on him. She knew. Before we moved, she knew. Explain. I'm a professional, Thex said. His voice was raspy. I've worked security contracts for 15 years. I've protected diplomats, guarded convoys, fought off raiders. I have 4 arms, 4 weapons. I can attack from multiple angles simultaneously. It's my species' advantage, but it didn't help. She moved like she could see the future, Thex whispered. I went for her left side. She was already moving right before I committed to the attack. Pix tried to flank her. She stepped into his attack zone before he got there. We couldn't touch her. It was like fighting smoke, and then what happened? She picked up a bar stool. Just a regular wooden stool. I thought she was going to defend with it, maybe use it as a shield. Instead, she swung it once, just once. I felt 3 of my arms break simultaneously. The pain was incredible. I dropped and couldn't get back up. Taman studied the Trilarian carefully. Your exoskeleton is crystalline. It's supposed to withstand impact forces that would destroy most materials. I know, Thex said. That's what makes this impossible. That stool was wood. Wood shouldn't break crystal, but it did. She hit precisely at the stress points in my skeleton, the places where the crystal is naturally weaker. She knew exactly where to strike for maximum damage with minimum force. You think she's fought Trilarians before? I think she's studied us, Thex corrected. Studied how we move, how we fight, where we're vulnerable. That's not luck. That's training. Advanced training. Taman thanked him and moved to the next bed. The 2 caustic breathers, Dorn and Zim, were sitting together. Both still had bandages around their mouths. Their broken tails hung limp off the side of the bed. Your mouths are healed enough to talk, Taman said. Tell me about the acid, Dorn's eyes narrowed. I was defending my friends. The Goraths and Trailarians were down. She was standing there like nothing happened. I thought she was going to kill them, so I prepared to spit. Caustic breathers could produce acid in specialized glands in their throat. The acid was powerful enough to melt through most materials. It was their primary defense mechanism. And their primary weapon. You spat at her, Taman prompted. I tried to, Dorn said, but she was behind me before the acid left my mouth. I don't know how. I can spit acid at velocity. It's almost instantaneous. She moved faster than instantaneous. That's impossible. Yet it happened. She muzzled me with a bar towel, Dorn continued, wrapped it around my mouth so tight I couldn't open my jaw. Then she broke my tail. Not hard enough to cripple permanently, but hard enough that I couldn't use it to remove the muzzle. Zim tried to help, and she did the same to him, all while talking in that calm voice. What did she say? She said, "If you spit acid in my bar, I will be very unhappy." Dorn's voice shook. She wasn't angry, wasn't scared, just stated it like a fact, like she was telling us the weather. Taman left the medical center and returned to his office. His team had been working through the night, pulling every piece of information they could find about Hyejin. What they'd discovered was troubling. His second-in-command, an officer named Rixtel, spread files across the desk. Chief, we dug deeper into her background. The basics were all there in her application, but the details were classified. Classified by whom? Earth Defense Forces. We had to file a formal request through diplomatic channels. They finally sent us a partial file. Most of it is still redacted, but what we got is concerning. Taman looked at the files. The text was broken up by black bars where information had been removed. But some details remained. Hyejin, age 32, enlisted in Earth Defense Forces at 18, served 14 years, achieved rank of Master Sergeant, assigned to Special Operations Division after 3 years of service, specialized training in close quarters combat, hostile environment survival, strategic pacification, and advanced hand-to-hand combat systems. Further down, a list of deployment zones, all redacted, but the number of deployments was visible. 47. Hyejin had been deployed to combat zones 47 times in 14 years. Strategic pacification, Taman read aloud. What does that mean? Rixtel pulled up another document. We contacted an Earth liaison. They explained it in general terms. Strategic pacification is what they call missions where small teams are sent into hostile situations to resolve conflicts before they escalate. Sometimes it's negotiation. Sometimes it's intimidation. Sometimes it's direct action. Direct action meaning combat, precisely. The goal is to end problems quickly with minimal casualties. Apparently, humans are very good at this. Taman thought about the bar fight. 90 seconds. 6 trained fighters neutralized. All of them alive but thoroughly defeated. Minimal casualties. Maximum efficiency. There's more, Rixtal said. We found combat footage from one of her deployments. It was declassified 2 years ago. Educational purposes, according to Earth military. Rixtal activated a holographic display. The footage was grainy, taken from what looked like a helmet camera. The view showed a dark corridor inside some kind of facility. 3 figures in combat armor moved forward. The name tags identified them. One was Hyejin. The team rounded a corner and found 12 hostiles, armed with energy weapons. The hostiles opened fire immediately. What happened next happened so fast Taman had to replay it 3 times to understand. Hyejin and her team moved like water, like they knew where every shot would be before it was fired. They flowed around the incoming fire, closing the distance with impossible speed. Hyejin personally took down 5 hostiles in less than 10 seconds. None of them were killed. All of them were disarmed and incapacitated with surgical precision. The footage ended. This was considered an average mission, Rixtal said. Nothing special. Just routine. Taman sat back in his chair. She came to our station to escape this. To have a peaceful life. Yes, sir. And we let 6 drunk idiots attack her in her own bar. Yes, sir. Taman rubbed his eyes with 2 of his hands. What's the status on the legal side? Complicated, Rixtal admitted. Technically, she was within her rights. Station law allows business owners to defend their property and customers. She gave multiple warnings. She only used force after physical assault was initiated against her. But the Gorath brothers' clan is making noise. They're politically connected. They're demanding charges against Hyejin. Excessive force. Assault with intent to cause grievous harm. They want her removed from the station. On what grounds? They claim she's dangerous. That she represents a threat to station security. That humans shouldn't be allowed to operate businesses if they're capable of this level of violence. Taman sat down heavily on one of the few chairs that hadn't been broken into pieces. His officers were still standing in defensive positions, weapons half raised as if the 6 groaning aliens on the floor might suddenly jump up and attack. The medical team worked quickly, scanning injuries and calling for stretchers. "Someone tell me what happened," Taman said. His voice came out calmer than he felt. The Gorath warrior on the floor groaned again. His name was Krev, according to the ID scanner. He was a licensed trader with a security clearance for the station. His brother Vel was the unconscious one with the swollen jaw. Both of them had military records. Both had seen combat in multiple conflicts across 3 systems. "She broke us," Krev whispered. "She broke all of us." One of the medics, a gentle 6-legged philandry named Jiwan, approached Taman nervously. Her rabbit-like ears were flat against her head. "Chief, I was here. I saw it happen." Taman's antenna perked up. "You witnessed the fight?" "Yes, sir. I was having dinner at that table." She pointed to an overturned table near the window. "I came here after my shift at the docking bay. The food is good and Hyejin is always nice." "Tell me everything," Taman said. Jiwan's ears twitched. "The Gorath brothers came in about an hour ago. They were already drunk. They ordered drinks and Hyejin served them. They were loud but not causing trouble at first. Behind the bar, Hyejin had moved on to organizing bottles. She was humming something soft and melodic. It was the most surreal thing Taman had ever witnessed. "Then what happened?" he prompted. "They started making comments," Jiwan continued, "about humans. About how they're weak, how they're just soft little deathworlders who got lucky joining the galactic community. Krev said humans hide behind their technology because they can't fight." Taman looked at the destruction around him. "I'm guessing that theory was proven wrong." "Hyejin didn't react at first," Jiwan said. "She just kept serving drinks and cleaning. But Krev got louder. He started demanding free drinks. Said humans should serve real warriors for free. Hyejin politely refused. She explained that all customers pay the same rates. One of Taman's officers was recording everything. Another was trying to access the security footage. But apparently the camera system had been damaged during the fight. Only audio remained. Then Krev reached over the bar, Jiwan said, her voice dropping. He grabbed Hyejin's collar, pulled her halfway across the bar. He was going to hit her. I'm sure of it. His brother Vel was laughing. Taman looked at Krev. The big Gorath warrior was staring at the ceiling, his eyes unfocused. Taman had seen that look before. It was the look of someone whose worldview had just been shattered. "What did she do?" Taman asked. "I don't really know," Jiwan admitted. "It happened so fast." One moment Krev was holding her. The next moment Krev was flying through the air. He hit that wall so hard the whole station shook. Then Vel charged at her, roaring. He got 3 steps before he was on the ground. I didn't even see her move. The unconscious Gorath was being loaded onto a stretcher. The medic said his jaw was broken in 2 places. Clean breaks, surgical precision. Not the messy damage of a brawl, but the calculated strikes of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The Trilarians came next, Jiwan continued. Thex and Pix, they're mercenaries, security contractors. They pulled weapons, small shock batons, nothing lethal. I think they were trying to help the Goraths. Taman's mandibles clicked together. They attacked her with weapons. They tried. Hyejin moved like water, like she was dancing. Thex has 4 arms and he couldn't touch her. She used a bar stool, just a regular wooden bar stool. She swung it once and 3 of Thex's arms broke. The sound was horrible. The Trilarians were being treated now. Thex was conscious but in shock. His crystalline exoskeleton, which was supposed to be nearly unbreakable, had stress fractures running through it. Pix was crying. Trilarians didn't cry often. The caustic breathers? Taman asked. Jiwan's ears went completely flat. Dorn tried to spit acid at her. I screamed because I thought she was dead. You can't dodge acid spit. It's too fast. But Hyejin moved before he spat. She grabbed a bar towel and was behind him before the acid even left his mouth. She muzzled him with the towel and then did the same to Zim. The whole time she was talking, very calm, very quiet. What did she say? She said, "If you spit acid in my bar, I will be very unhappy." Then she asked if anyone else wanted to try something stupid. Taman stood up and walked to the bar. Hyejin had finished organizing the bottles and was now wiping down the counter. She looked up as he approached, that same pleasant smile on her face. How long did the fight last? Taemin asked her directly. Hyejin thought for a moment. About 90 seconds. Maybe less. It's hard to tell. Time moves differently when you're busy. 90 seconds. 6 trained fighters, all of them down and broken in 90 seconds. You're very calm, Taemin observed. No point being upset, Hyejin said. They started it. I finished it. Now I'm cleaning up. That's how these things work. One of Taemin's officers approached with a data pad. Chief, I pulled the audio from the station feeds. You should hear this. Taemin took the pad and played the recording. The bar's ambient sound came through first. Glasses clicking, low conversation, background music. Then louder voices. The Gurath brothers arguing. Hyejin's voice, calm and measured. Gentlemen, I've asked you nicely. This is your last warning, roaring. The sound of something heavy hitting something hard. Breaking furniture. Multiple voices shouting. Then Hyejin's voice again, still calm. I just cleaned that floor. More crashing. Someone screaming. An impact that made the audio distort. Then Hyejin again. Dorn, if you spit acid in my bar, I will be very unhappy. Brief silence. Muffled sounds. Someone groaning. Then Hyejin's voice one final time. Right. Who's next? Nothing. No response. Just the sound of people breathing heavily and what might have been whimpering. Taemin looked at Hyejin with new eyes. She had gone back to polishing glasses. Her hands were steady, not shaking at all. No adrenaline crash. No signs of stress. You're military trained, Taemin said. It wasn't a question. Was, Hyejin corrected. Past tense. I'm retired now. I wanted to try something peaceful. Bartending seemed nice. This doesn't look peaceful. I didn't start it, Hyejin pointed out. I asked them to leave 3 times. I warned them. They chose to escalate. I chose to protect my business and my customers. That's not aggression. That's defense. Taemin's antenna twitched. She was right, technically. Station law was clear about self-defense. Business owners had the right to protect their property. But there was a difference between defense and what had happened here. You could have called security, Taemin said. I did. You came. Hyejin held up a cleaned glass to the light, checking for spots. You arrived exactly 4 minutes after I triggered the distress beacon. Very impressive response time. By then, everything was over. I started cleaning up while I waited. Another officer approached. Chief, the witnesses are consistent. The human warned the aggressors multiple times. They initiated physical violence. She responded with minimal force necessary to stop the threat. Minimal force. Taemin looked at the 6 broken aliens being carried out on stretchers. If this was minimal, what did maximum look like? He pulled up Hyejin's file again on his wrist display. Former military, yes, but the details were vague. Earth Defense Forces, Special Operations Division, Close Quarters Combat Specialist, Strategic Pacification. That last term caught his attention. Strategic Pacification. What did that mean? What exactly did you do in the military? Taemin asked. Hyejin set down the glass and picked up another one. My job was to end conflicts quickly and cleanly. Go into hostile situations and resolve them before they became bigger problems. I was good at it. How good? Good enough that they asked me to keep doing it. I said no, I'd had enough fighting. When my contract ended, I left Earth and came here. I wanted somewhere quiet, somewhere I could serve drinks and talk to people and not hurt anyone. She said it so simply, like it was the most natural thing in the world. A warrior who wanted to stop being a warrior. You hurt 6 people today, Taemin pointed out. They hurt themselves, Hyejin replied. They made bad choices. I just showed them the consequences. None of them will die. None of them have permanent damage. In a few weeks, they'll heal completely. They'll remember this and hopefully make better choices next time. The last stretcher was being carried out. Krev looked at Hyejin as he passed. His eyes were wide. What are you? He whispered. Hyejin looked at him with something like pity. I'm a bartender. Just a bartender who wants to be left alone to do her job. Remember that. After the injured aliens were gone, after the witnesses had given their statements, after the medical team had cleaned up the blood, Taemin stood in the doorway looking at Hyejin. She was still cleaning, still organizing, still humming that soft melody. This isn't over, Taemin said. There will be an investigation, reports, possibly charges. I understand, Hyejin said. I'll cooperate fully. I have nothing to hide. Those Goraths have clan connections, political influence. They might push for charges against you. They're welcome to try. Hyejin met his eyes directly. I defended myself legally. I warned them. I used appropriate force. Everything I did was by the book. Station law is clear, she was right. But Taemin had a feeling this was going to become complicated anyway. The alarm screamed through the security office like a wounded animal. Taemin's 4 eyes snapped open, his antenna twitching as the red emergency lights flooded the room. He was on his feet in seconds, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking as he moved toward the main console. What is it? He asked, his voice sharp. The dispatch officer, a nervous glimmerwing named Rixtal, was already pulling up the data on the screen. His wings fluttered anxiously. Bar fight, Chief, Sector 9, the Rusty Comet. Taemin felt his mandibles tighten. Bar fights were common enough on orbital station Nexus 7. Traders got drunk, arguments started, fists flew. Usually they sent 2 officers to break it up and everyone went home with bruises and hangovers. But something about Rixtal's tone made this different. How bad? Taemin asked. Rixtal's wings stopped fluttering. That was never a good sign. Multiple witnesses reporting extreme violence. Structural damage. Possible fatalities. Taemin grabbed his equipment belt and started running. Behind him he could hear his team scrambling to follow. 6 officers in full riot gear. Medical units prepped and ready. This was the kind of response they saved for attempted murders or terrorist attacks. As they rushed through the station corridors, Taemin pulled up the automated sensor data on his wrist display. His blood ran cold, massive kinetic impacts. The sensors had detected the kind of force usually associated with heavy machinery or explosive devices. Furniture being thrown with enough velocity to crack reinforced walls, something that sounded like a small detonation. How many hostiles? He barked into his comm. Unknown, Chief. Audio feeds are picking up roaring, multiple voices, heavy impacts. Could be anywhere from 4 to 10 combatants. Taemin's team rounded the corner, boots pounding against the metal deck. He'd been security chief on Nexus 7 for 8 years. He'd broken up gang wars, stopped smuggler fights, and once faced down a rogue combat mech that had glitched in the cargo bay. But something about this felt wrong. Who called it in? He asked. Automated distress beacon from the bar itself, Rixtal replied through the comm. And about 15 witnesses in nearby establishments. They all say the same thing. Lots of violence. Lots of noise. Then sudden silence. That silence worried Taemin most of all. He pulled up the bar's information as they ran. The Rusty Comet. Small establishment mostly served workers from the docking bays and traders passing through. Owner and operator, Hyejin. Human female. Been on station for 8 months. Employment record clean. No complaints. No incidents, human. Taemin's antenna twitched again. He'd met a few humans since they'd joined the galactic community 30 years ago. Strange species. Looked fragile, acted tough. They came from a death world called Earth where apparently everything tried to kill everything else. But they were small compared to most species. Weak-looking. Soft skin. No natural armor. No claws or fangs worth mentioning. He'd read the file when Hyejin first applied for her business license. Former military. Honorable discharge. The file listed her service as Earth Defense Forces, with a specialty in something called close quarters combat. Taemin hadn't paid much attention at the time. Most species had some kind of military service in their background. It was common. Now he wondered what close quarters combat meant in human terms. The security team reached Sector 9. The corridor was empty. Smart. The other residents had sealed their doors when they heard the commotion. Taemin could see scorch marks on one wall and what looked like claw gouges on another. Whatever had happened had spilled out of the bar itself. Medical, stay close, Taemin ordered. Heavy weapons team, front position. Non-lethal rounds only unless I give the word. His officers formed up behind him, shock batons ready, stun rifles charged. Through the bar's front window, Taemin could see overturned tables and broken chairs. The lights were still on, but he couldn't see any movement. On my mark, he said quietly. 3, 2, 1, breach. The door slammed open. Officers poured in, weapons raised, shouting commands in a dozen languages. Security! Nobody move! Hands where we can see them! Then they all stopped. The scene before them made no sense. Taemin's brain struggled to process what his eyes were showing him. Behind the bar, calm as morning sunlight, stood Hyejin. The human woman was holding a wine glass in one hand and a clean cloth in the other. She was polishing the glass with slow, careful movements. Her dark hair was tied back in a neat ponytail. Her uniform was crisp and clean. She looked like someone preparing for the evening rush, not someone who had just been in the middle of a violent catastrophe. She looked up as they entered and smiled. It was a pleasant, professional smile, the kind of smile a bartender gave to regular customers. "Good evening, officers," she said. Her voice was soft and friendly. "Can I help you?" Taman couldn't speak. His officers stood frozen behind him, weapons still raised but pointing at nothing, because on the floor, scattered around the bar like discarded garbage, were 6 aliens. 6 large combat-trained aliens, and they were all groaning. A Gorath warrior lay near the door, clutching his ribs. Goraths were 8 feet tall, covered in thick reptilian scales with strength that could bend steel. This one looked like he'd been hit by a cargo shuttle. Next to him, another Gorath was completely unconscious, his jaw swollen to twice its normal size. Near the bar itself, 2 Trilarians lay in awkward positions. Trilarians had 4 arms, crystalline exoskeletons, and were known as some of the best fighters in the galaxy. 3 of one Trilarian's arms were bent at angles that arms should never bend. The other was conscious but whimpering, cradling one broken limb. In the corner, 2 caustic breathers sat slumped against the wall. Their mouths were muzzled with what looked like bar towels. Smart, caustic breathers could spit acid that melted through most materials. Their tails were broken, hanging limp. The medical team rushed forward, scanning the injured aliens with their equipment. Taman walked slowly toward the bar, his mind racing. The furniture was destroyed, chairs broken into pieces, tables cracked and splintered, but they'd been arranged into neat piles against one wall, as if someone had taken time to clean up after the violence. The bar itself was untouched. Every glass in place, every bottle standing in perfect rows. The surface gleamed like it had just been cleaned. Hyejin continued polishing her wine glass. She held it up to the light, checking for spots. "What happened here?" Taman finally managed to ask. Hyejin set the glass down gently on the bar. She picked up another one and started polishing. "Bar fight," she said simply. "Nothing too serious. Would you like something to drink? First round's on the house for station security. You all work very hard." Behind him, Taman heard one of his officers make a choking sound. The Gorath on the floor groaned louder. He raised one clawed hand toward Hyejin, and his voice was filled with pain and something else. Something Taman had never heard from a Gorath warrior before. Fear. "She's a demon," the Gorath whispered. "She's not real. She can't be real." Hyejin looked at the Gorath with an expression of mild concern. "You should probably stay still until the medics check you over. You hit that wall pretty hard. Might have a concussion." Taman realized his mandibles were hanging open. He closed them with a click. This human woman, who barely came up to his shoulder, who looked like she weighed less than one of his officers' equipment packs, was standing in a destroyed bar surrounded by 6 combat-trained aliens who looked like they'd fought a war and lost, and she was offering him a drink. "Nobody move," Taman said, though he wasn't sure who he was talking to anymore. The aliens on the floor certainly weren't going anywhere, and Hyejin didn't look like she'd moved more than 3 steps in any direction since the violence ended. He needed to understand what happened here. He needed to know how one small human had done this, because if humans could do this, if they could take down 6 trained fighters without apparent effort, then the galaxy had seriously misunderstood what kind of species had joined the community. Taman looked at Hyejin. She smiled at him again and gestured to the bar. "Really?" she said. "The first drink is free. You look like you need it." For the first time in his career, Taman thought he might actually take a drink while on duty. The council chamber was full. Taman had expected a small hearing with maybe a dozen observers. Instead, nearly 100 beings crowded into the space. Representatives from 24 species, traders, station residents, security personnel, even reporters from 3 different news networks. The story had spread through the station like fire. A human bartender had defeated 6 trained fighters in less than 2 minutes. Some versions of the story had her throwing Goraths through walls. Others claimed she'd moved so fast she became invisible. The truth was impressive enough, but rumors always grew larger than reality. At the front of the chamber, Station Arbiter Soyon sat behind a raised desk. She was human too, which had caused immediate complaints from the Gorath clan lawyers. They demanded a different arbiter, claiming species bias. Soyan had refused to recuse herself. She'd been station arbiter for 6 years and never shown favoritism. Her record spoke for itself. Heejin sat at one table alone. She'd declined legal representation, said she didn't need lawyers to tell the truth. She wore her bar uniform clean and pressed. Her dark hair was pulled back in the same ponytail. She looked calm, ready. At the opposite table sat the Gorath clan's legal team. 4 lawyers, all Kormathi. The Kormathi were known as the best legal minds in 3 systems. Their lead attorney was named Voss. He had a reputation for never losing a case. Behind the lawyers sat clan leader Makthor. The old Gorath looked angry. His scales were dark with rage. His 2 sons sat beside him, both still recovering from their injuries. Krev could barely move. Vel's jaw was wired shut. Taman sat in the witness section with his security team. He'd be called to testify. So would the witnesses from the bar. Everyone who'd seen what happened would tell their version of events. Soyan called the hearing to order. The chamber fell silent. We're here to determine whether Heejin violated station law during an incident at the Rusty Comet Bar 3 days ago, Soyan began. The Gorath clan has filed charges of excessive force and assault, with intent to cause grievous harm. Heejin has pleaded not guilty to all charges. We'll hear evidence from both sides, then I'll make a ruling. She looked at the Gorath legal team. You may present your case. Voss stood up. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 3 eyes that seemed to look in different directions at once. Thank you, Arbiter. This case is simple. Heejin attacked 6 innocent customers in her establishment. She used extreme violence to cause serious injury. The evidence will show she acted with excessive force and clear intent to harm. We ask that she be found guilty and removed from the station. He activated a holographic display. Medical scans appeared showing the injuries. Broken ribs, fractured jaw, shattered arms, broken tails. The injuries looked brutal on screen. These injuries required extensive medical treatment, Voss continued. The victims will need weeks to fully recover. Some may have permanent damage. This wasn't self-defense. This was assault. Heejin had many options available. She could have retreated, called security, used non-violent de-escalation. Instead, she chose violence. Voss played the audio recording from the bar, Heejin's voice calm and measured, giving warnings. Then the sounds of impact. Breaking furniture. Screams of pain. Listen to that, Voss said. That's not the sound of someone defending themselves. That's the sound of someone inflicting punishment. Heejin was angry. She wanted to hurt these people. And she did. He called his first witness. Krev, struggling to walk, made his way to the witness stand. Tell us what happened, Voss prompted. Krev's voice was weak. We were drinking. Having a good time. We made some comments. Nothing serious. Just talking. Then Heejin got angry. I reached over to touch her arm, just friendly, and she attacked me. Threw me across the room. I tried to defend myself, but she was too fast. Too strong. She kept hitting us. Wouldn't stop. My brother tried to help, and she broke his jaw. The others tried to help, and she hurt them too. We were helpless. She could have stopped at any time, but she didn't. Did you threaten her? Voss asked. No. Never. We just wanted drinks. Did you attack her first? No, she attacked us. Taman's antenna twitched. He'd reviewed the evidence a dozen times. That wasn't what happened. But Krev was lying smoothly. Making himself the victim, Voss called the other victims. Each one told similar stories. They were innocent. Heejin was violent. They never threatened her. She attacked without provocation. It was coordinated testimony, practiced, designed to paint Heejin as a dangerous aggressor. Finally, Voss rested his case. The evidence is clear, Arbiter. Heejin used excessive force against customers who posed no real threat. She should be found guilty. Soyan nodded. Heejin, you may present your defense. Heejin stood up. She didn't have lawyers. Didn't have holographic displays or prepared speeches. She just walked to the center of the chamber and spoke clearly. I didn't attack anyone, she said. I defended myself and my customers against 6 aggressive individuals who refused to leave my establishment. Everything I did was legal under station law. I have evidence to prove it. She called Taman as her first witness. Taman walked to the stand. Soyan asked him to describe what he found when he arrived at the bar. We responded to an emergency distress call, Taemin said. When we arrived, we found 6 individuals injured on the floor. Hyejin was behind the bar, cleaning. The establishment was damaged, but Hyejin was uninjured. She cooperated fully with our investigation. What did your investigation reveal? Soyeon asked. That Hyejin acted in self-defense. We have witness testimony that the Gorath brothers initiated the confrontation. They grabbed Hyejin first. She responded with appropriate force to stop the threat. Voss jumped up. Appropriate force? She broke 6 people. She stopped 6 attackers, Taemin corrected. All of whom are still alive. None of whom have permanent injuries. If she'd wanted to kill them, she could have. She chose not to. That's restraint, not excessive force. Hyejin called Jiwon next. The small philandry merchant was nervous, but she told her story clearly. How the Goraths had been loud and aggressive. How they demanded free drinks. How Hyejin had asked them to leave 3 times before Krev grabbed her. She didn't attack them, Jiwon said. She defended herself. And she protected us. I was terrified. If Hyejin hadn't stopped them, they might have hurt other customers, another witness testified. A trader named Yul, who'd been in the bar. His testimony matched Jiwon's. The Goraths were aggressors. Hyejin was defending. Then Hyejin presented the security footage from outside the bar. It showed the Goraths entering already drunk. Showed them arguing with other customers before they even reached Hyejin. Showed them pushing someone who tried to leave. These weren't innocent customers, Hyejin said. They were looking for trouble. I tried to avoid giving it to them. But when Krev grabbed me, I had no choice. Station law is clear. Business owners have the right to defend themselves and their property. Voss stood up. But the force you used was excessive. You could have simply restrained them. I did restrain them, Hyejin replied, by putting them on the floor where they couldn't hurt anyone. That's what restraint means. Stopping the threat with minimal harm. Minimal harm? Voss gestured at the medical scans. You call this minimal? Yes, Hyejin said calmly. I broke bones. Bones heal. If I'd wanted to cause real harm, they'd be dead. I know dozens of ways to kill each of those species. I used none of them. Every strike was calculated to incapacitate without causing permanent damage. That's the definition of restraint. The chamber went quiet. Even Voss seemed taken aback by her directness. Soyeon leaned forward. You're saying you could have killed them? Yes, Arbiter, easily. My training included lethal and non-lethal techniques. I chose non-lethal. Even when they pulled weapons. Even when one tried to spit acid at me. I could have killed them all and been legally justified. I chose not to. Why? Soyeon asked. Because I don't want to kill people. Hyejin said simply. I spent 14 years fighting wars. I'm tired of death. I came here for peace. When these people attacked me, I defended myself with the minimum force necessary. That's not a crime. That's exactly what station law says business owners should do. Clan leader Makthor stood up, roaring. She humiliated my sons. Shamed our clan. She must pay. Soyeon's hand hit the desk. Sit down, clan leader. Outbursts will not be tolerated. Makthor sat, but his scales remained dark with rage. Hyejin looked at him directly. Your sons attacked me because they thought humans were weak. They were wrong. I defended myself. If they feel shame, it's because they made a mistake. I didn't shame them. They shamed themselves. Soyeon called for a brief recess. When they returned, she asked Hyejin one final question. If 6 people attacked you again tomorrow, what would you do? Hyejin didn't hesitate. The same thing, warn them. Ask them to leave. If they attack me, defend myself. I won't apologize for surviving. I won't pretend to be helpless to make others comfortable. Soyeon nodded. Anything else? Yes, Hyejin said. I'd like to address clan leader Makthor directly if permitted. Soyeon considered, then nodded. You may. Hyejin turned to face the old Gorath. I'm sorry your sons were hurt, truly. I didn't want to fight them. But they gave me no choice. If you want to blame someone, blame them for their poor decisions, or blame yourself for not teaching them to respect others. But don't blame me for defending myself. That's not fair and it's not just, Makthor S.